Well, hello Canadian Campaholic here. It is a very, very chilly late October evening, and it's going to get down to around -6 overnight and stay that way for most of the night, so I figured might as well winterize the camper. So I've just drained out the hot water heater, and I've removed the low point drain caps and drained all the water out of the system. I've got my trusty adapter with my PVC hose and a giant jug of Winterproof. So I'm just warming up the inside of the camper right now so it's not so cold in there. So we'll head on inside and hook this up to the pump and winterize. I forgot to mention before you get all hooked up inside the camper and start pumping this stuff through, make sure you do put the caps back on the low point drains, because if you don't, you're just going to be pissing antifreeze out the back of the trailer. So I also returned the drain plug and the anode rod back into the water heater. I just kind of screwed it in finger tight. It's all drained down now, so it's pretty toasty in here right now. This furnace has only been running for a little bit, and I have made it just slightly warm. I'm not showing you all the steps in this video because I've got other videos on the channel where I show you winterizing. I was just out here getting ready to do this, and I thought, what the hell? Do a quick video and stick it on the channel, why not? I guess the one thing I could talk about and address just very quickly in this video is this time of year, and a lot of the camping forums that I'm a part of on Facebook, you see a lot of debate about whether you should blow out the water lines first. You know, here's my thing on winterizing. A lot of people will go to professionals to have it done, which is fine. If you're busy, you don't have the time, maybe you got mobility issues, you're older, whatever, that makes sense. But you know, if you're an average person with good mobility and good technical skills, don't pay someone else to do it. It's not that difficult. Blowing it out, you know, there's a lot of debate on that. A lot of folks will say, well, you don't want any moisture in the water lines whatsoever. It'll dilute the mix and you could have damage, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm no expert, but I've had this particular camper for 7 years. I had a pop-up camper before that. I've never blown the lines out. I just make sure that I open up the low point, make sure that all the water has drained out, and then when I hook up the tub of antifreeze to the pump and I run it through the various faucets, the shower, the toilet, everything, I make sure there's a pretty good steady stream of pink. You know, you want to really make sure that it runs through for a few seconds, and then that way, if there is any moisture of any kind left in the pipes, it's going to push that out. And knock on wood, I have never so far had any damage to my plumbing. And where I live here in Canada, it can get as cold as -20. Sometimes we've even had -30, -40. And I've never had an issue. Part of it is also making sure you're using a good RV antifreeze product. And again, an antifreeze that's rated for drinking. I use, here, let me flip this around. I talk about this on the channel a lot, pretty much every year that I winterize, but I use this stuff, Winterproof. I'm not sponsored by them, but this stuff is great. I swear by this. I don't use generic stuff. I use Winterproof. This was about $16.99 at Canadian Tire, and you've got 9.46 liters in there, which is more than enough for my small rig with its simple stuff. The thing I like about Winterproof is that it does not expand at all. Although it will slush up and it will freeze up a little bit in cold weather, it doesn't expand, and it's that expansion which is what can really screw up your plumbing. So yeah, that's just the way I do it. And then I've got other videos on the channel about de-winterizing and sanitizing. I've also got a couple of puppy pads down here ready to go, because invariably when I'm hooking things up to the pump and disconnecting, I get a little bit of spillage. So just some dollar store puppy pads, because they can absorb quite a bit of liquid. I've also noticed that I do get a little bit of seepage sometimes in the winter from the bypass valves on the hot water tank, just a dribble. So I put a puppy pad under that for the winter. I'll show you that in a second, just to absorb any of that moisture. So anyway, let's turn you around and let's do the next step. All right, so I got to do a couple of things. I got to bypass the hot water heater, and it's behind that panel there. And then I got to hook up my hose to the water pump, which is down here. So I'm going to get my trusty screwdriver, and let's remove those panels. All right, so we've got the panel off now, and actually you can see the puppy pad from last year, and It looks like it's a lot of leakage because of the amount of pink, but it only takes about a, half a teaspoonful to kind of stain a little bit. But yeah, it only happens in the winter time. Never happens in the summer. Not really sure why. It's something about when you get extreme cold snaps, something in these valves shrinks a little bit and you get a little bit of dribble. I really could look at replacing it, I guess, putting new valves on there and changing them, but I don't know. The main time we use it, it hasn't been a problem, so I've kept an eye on it. I've got some cloves down in, it's not my shit, and I've got my trap down there with some peanut butter in it. That's the other thing you see a lot of debate in the groups this time of year is keeping mice out. There's no scientific evidence that cloves or mint or things of that nature repel mice, but those of you that follow the channel know that I swear by this. And the one year that I didn't do it, we got mice in the trailer. Didn't cause a lot of damage because the traps caught them, but yeah, it may be a placebo effect. Might just be for my own peace of mind, but I don't mind the smell, and honestly, it seems to have worked because nothing has nibbled the peanut butter there. So anyway, I'm going to get this nasty old puppy pad out of here, put a nice new one under there. But for now, I can reach my hand in here and just turn these, God, they're stiff, these bypass valves. And then that way, when we're pumping the antifreeze through the system, it's just going to go through this loop, and I'm not wasting tons of antifreeze filling up that 5-gallon water heater. So anyway, you don't need to see me do that. That's pretty basic. Again, my subscribers will be familiar with this hose from previous years where I've winterized, but I was given this adapter from the RV dealer many years ago, and that screws on perfectly onto the inlet side for the SureFlow pump. And then I've got this clear PVC pipe with an internal diameter of ½ inch. The issue is I usually have about 5 or 6 feet of it on the end of this. I've only got about 3 or so feet, so I'm hoping that's enough, because I want to get it to go right down in the bottom of the jug so that I can use up as much of the fluid as possible. I thought about buying another length of this. I had to cut a piece of it off for another odd job I had to do in the summer months, but I'm worried I might have cut it too short, but I guess we'll see. It is a bit messy, though, because then when you disconnect this, when you're done the process, a fair amount of the fluid that's inside the pump does tend to leak back out, which does make a bit of a mess, hence the other puppy pad. But yeah, this is the process. I just stick this into the end of the jug and start running the taps till the pink stuff comes through, and it works like a charm. All right, anyway, let me get that all set up. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to reach down here, and yeah, there's a lot of cloves in there. I might have gone a little crazy with that last year. But that's the water inlet. You're going to unscrew that. You don't need tools. You can just use your hands because it's all plastic. You don't want to break it. And then once that's removed, I'll carefully move it out of the way and connect this in place of that. Stick the other end of the pipe in the antifreeze, switch on the pump, pressurize the system, and run it through. So, oh yeah, that was more than enough hose. I don't know what the hell my thinking was. But there it is. It's connected up now. Again, finger tight. And I've just shoved it down as far down into the bottom of the jug as I can. So now let's go up to the pump. Switch on the water pump. We should start to see it pull it out of the jug there. There we go. And there you go. It's already pressurized all of the lines in my camper. That's also a good indication that when I returned the caps on the low point drain, I did that sufficiently. Otherwise it would keep running, so that's good. Keep in mind, in my camper, I've got very little plumbing. The freshwater tank is right under the floor here, feeds into the pump, and I've got this sink here with hot and cold water. The water heater's over there. Shower is back behind this wall right here, and the toilet. So I have very little plumbing to have to deal with. So your camper could be a lot more complex and involved. Anyway, I'm going to go to the back of the camper now. And you don't want to go crazy with pumping this through the system. It's kind of a compromise between enough pink stuff to ensure that there's no water in the system, but not so much that you drain the damn container of it, because you know, almost 20 bucks a shot with tax just for that jug. You want to go easy on it. But the other reason you want to pump a decent amount is you want to make sure that the P-traps, for the shower especially, and for the sink, also get a decent amount of antifreeze going through them. Because you don't want any water in the traps to expand too much and cause an issue. So that's the other reason. Anyway, so there's the toilet. Right now it's just got water in there from our last camping trip. This is the furthest point away from the pump, so... And there's the pink stuff. Don't have to go too crazy on the toilet because there's no P-trap per se here. The water just sits in the bowl and it's a straight shot down into the holding tank. I just ran it for a few seconds because what will happen is the antifreeze will run down and hit that gate valve on the black tank, so that'll help a little bit. In fact, you know what? Let's just give it another little go. Keeping an eye on my jug. Make sure I don't go crazy. But that's more than enough pink stuff. And I'll keep an eye on that over the course of the winter too, because sometimes that seal doesn't always hold that well. So good idea to check on it every once in a while and add to it if you need to. But toilet, winterized, good to go. This part's going to get a little awkward and messy with me holding the phone. But anyway, here's my shower. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to try and do this one-handed. But we're going to switch on the, I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll do the hot side first. Yeah, we'll do the hot side first. Okay, so turn on the hot. Open the pause button. And there you go. There's a nice stream of pink. Again, keep an eye on that jug so you don't go crazy with it. Run that just a second longer. Alright, that's pure pink now. So we'll turn the hot side off. And again, because we bypass the hot water heater, we're not filling that 5 gallons. It's just a straight shot. So now we'll turn on the cold side. Make sure it's nice and pink. And that's the cold side. And all that liquid will now go down in the P-trap. And you could run it, you know, a second longer if you want. I have never had any issues with my traps bursting. There must be enough room in there that if it does expand a bit, it just moves outward. So, anyway, we're going to turn that off. Oh, shoot, I left the tap on. Whoops. Let that stop dripping just for a moment. And then, of course, that makes sure there's no water inside the shower head, so the shower head won't burst. It's just still tiddling out here. Will you stop? There we go. All right, so that will eventually all drain in there. It does stain a little bit. In fact, you know what? Let me just squeegee that down a little bit. It does stain a little bit, but it comes off fairly easily. You could wipe that up now if you want to, or just wait until spring. Last part, and I've still got a decent amount of antifreeze in there, is the kitchen sink. Same thing again, you do want to put a decent amount in here so that the trap has got some pink stuff in it. Excuse me. All right, so get out of the way. All right, hot water side first. Oh, there we go. That's what we want. We want the pink. Let that run just for a second. Beautiful. All right. And then the cold. I think my strainer there is doesn't normally do that. Normally when we're running off the freshwater tank, it doesn't spray everywhere like that. Might have to change the strainer on that tap. But yeah, that's probably good. I mean, I've used over half of that jug. I've got some extra in the shop, so I'll dump that into here in case I have to re-winterize later. But yeah, that will about do it, folks, in terms of winterization. I'm going to have to put this puppy pad underneath here, though. You have to be very careful when you're disconnecting it back from the pump that you don't piss all of the antifreeze that's in this pipe everywhere. You want to try and keep that end up as much as you can. You're going to have a certain amount of spillage and a certain amount of the fluid in the pump is going to tittle out as well. So you can put a towel under it or a rag or a paper towel or whatever, but I find these dollar store puppy pads work great because they absorb quite a lot of moisture. Careful I don't snap my fingers in the mouse trap there. But yeah, I'll just, I do reconnect the water inlet pipe over the winter months. I'll put all the panels back on and yeah, we'll be ready to go. And I won't have to stay in the camper tonight when it's really cold overnight. So anyway, I'm going to put everything back together, get cleaned up, and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, so that'll about do it for this video. Everything's all back together. The puppy pad worked great. We only had a little bit of spillage there and just a few little dribbles that didn't quite catch, but still debating whether or not we're going to do another trip this year. I've mentioned it earlier on the channel. We're considering a trip in early December. That's contingent on finances. Also contingent on the weather. It's got to get above freezing during the day to really make it comfortable in this camper. At night, it doesn't matter too much. Between the electric heater and the propane furnace, it can get pretty toasty in here. If we do that, what we will probably do just for convenience is a quick half-assed de-winterize. And what that would basically consist of is taking those low point caps off again, letting the antifreeze run out of the pipes, filling the freshwater tank, and basically running all the faucets until it runs clear. We'll bring bottled water because although the RV antifreeze is non-toxic, it'll probably give you the shits, and it doesn't taste that nice. The residue's kind of gross. So we would bring bottled water for drinking and cooking, and really just use the water system mostly for the toilet. We've done dishes with it, and that doesn't seem to be a big issue. But for drinking, there's just a hint of it there. We do a full sanitize and flush process in the spring, which is on the channel. That eliminates that residue. But for a quick, we want to go camping, de-winterize quickly, we've got to take some other steps. The other thing about going camping is that at the end of it, I'd have to repeat the process that you've seen in this video. So I'd have to make sure that I've got enough antifreeze to re-winterize the plumbing. You can't get sloppy with that stuff. So in the event that we don't go camping, then really the only other stuff left to do would be to move the camper off the driveway onto the lawn. Because I park it that way for the winter. I put it up on wooden blocks to keep the frost out of the tires. That gives me access to my shop, which is heated. Park the car in there when I'm not using it in the winter. Disconnect the battery, disconnect the propane, clean up inside the camper, and that's about it. We don't put a cover on it. I've already done a clean and an inspection of the seals and everything, so yeah, it'll be winter slumber time, which is very depressing. So anyway, I'll keep you posted about what happens with our December trip, and even though you've seen a lot of this stuff before on the channel, it's nice to keep in touch, and maybe I'll post something when we move the camper. Anyway, hope you're having a fantastic fall. Halloween's just around the corner, and then everybody's going to start decorating for that other holiday. And I don't even want to say it out loud right now because I'm in denial that it's almost here. But anyway, hope you're staying warm and safe. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.